Imagine walking into a steakhouse for a quiet dinner and walking out with a story that could change your entire perspective on courage, sacrifice, and second chances. That's exactly what happened to a single dad veteran who only wanted to share a meal with his little girl, but instead found himself face to face with something shocking, something that forced him to relive the instincts of war. Stay with me till the end of this story, because what unfolds will grip your heart, and if it moves you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one. The night was calm, the air thick with the smell of grilled meat and laughter spilling out of the family-run steakhouse. Inside, tables were filled with friends and families enjoying a weekend night out. At a corner booth, Daniel, a single dad and decorated veteran, sat across from his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. She had been waiting all week for this dinner, and he was determined to give her a normal, joyful evening. Since her mother had left years ago, Daniel had become both father and mother, protector and provider. Lily was mid-giggle about something silly her dad said when the restaurant doors opened. In walked the police chief, Chief Harris, known around town for his no-nonsense attitude and stern exterior. But Daniel noticed something different tonight. The chief seemed on edge, his eyes scanning the room in a way Daniel knew all too well. That was the look of a man who sensed danger. Daniel tried to push the thought aside, focusing on his daughter's laughter. But then he saw it. Across the room, a man in a dark jacket slipped something under the table, his hand trembling as it brushed against what Daniel instantly recognized as the cold, metallic frame of a weapon. His military instincts roared awake. In that split second, Daniel realized the man wasn't just another diner, he was preparing for something violent. Daniel's pulse quickened. His daughter was here. Families were here. Innocent people, unaware of the storm about to break. He knew he had to act, but he also knew that panic could cost lives. Leaning slightly toward Lily, he whispered, "Don't talk, sweetheart. Just trust me." Her wide eyes searched his face, and she nodded silently. He stood up casually, as though heading to the restroom, but his every move was calculated. His eyes flickered toward Chief Harris, who was just about to bite into his steak. Daniel made eye contact, his expression hard, then barely mouthed the words, "Weapon. Don't move." Harris froze, his fork in midair. Years of experience told him to trust the veteran standing across the room. The armed man rose suddenly, knocking over his chair. Time slowed. Conversations turned into startled gasps. Daniel lunged forward, grabbing a heavy glass from the nearest table and slamming it against the attacker's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. The restaurant erupted in screams, people ducking for cover. "Stay down," Daniel shouted, his voice sharp but steady, a voice that had commanded soldiers once upon a time. He wrestled the man, pinning him to the ground as Chief Harris sprang into action, cuffing the attacker with swift precision. The entire room shook with fear, then relief, as the danger passed. But the real shock wasn't over. When Harris rolled the attacker over, he gasped. The man was no stranger, it was one of his own officers, a young cop suspended a week ago for misconduct. He had come to confront Harris, perhaps worse. The betrayal stung deeper than the danger itself. The room slowly returned to order. Parents clutched their children, and the waitstaff whispered in disbelief. Harris looked at Daniel, his eyes heavy with gratitude. "You saved my life, and theirs," he said, his voice thick. Daniel, still catching his breath, glanced at his daughter, who was trembling but safe. "I did what anyone would do," he muttered, though deep down he knew not everyone would have acted so fast. Later that night, as the steakhouse emptied and quiet returned, Chief Harris approached Daniel and Lily at their table. He crouched down to Lily's level. "Your dad is a hero," he told her softly. Lily's small voice broke through the silence. "I already knew that." For the first time in years, Daniel felt a warmth he hadn't known since his days in uniform, a sense of purpose, of being seen. Not just as a veteran, not just as a single dad struggling to hold it together, but as a man who still had something to give. Harris extended his hand. "If you're ever ready, we could use men like you again. Not in uniform, but in spirit. This town needs protectors." Daniel thought of the lonely nights, the weight of bills, the moments he wondered if he was enough for his daughter. And then he looked at Lily, her eyes shining with pride. He didn't have to answer Harris right then. The answer was already written in her smile. By the end of that night, Daniel hadn't just stopped an attack, he had reminded a whole room full of people what true courage looks like. It wasn't about medals or rank. It was about standing up when others couldn't, even when your own heart was pounding with fear. And maybe, just maybe, it was about teaching a little girl that heroes don't just exist in stories. Sometimes, they're sitting right across from you at a steakhouse table, reminding you to stay quiet, stay strong, and trust that love and courage can change everything. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about the hidden heroes around us, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this one deserve to be remembered, shared, and lived.